Good morning, good day, and good evening. Thank you so much to Women on Stage for the opportunity to be presenting today. I am here to talk about being a fuzzy in tech, my journey to finding purpose and passion in building for builders. Quick introduction. My name is Katie Miller. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a developer marketing leader and advisor. While my career has had many interesting twists and turns, from dental school admissions and life coaching to cookbook editing and agency training programs, and now the last 15 plus years in product and developer marketing, there's been a consistent through line, which is building programs and experiences that connect people to the information they need to make good decisions and be successful. Before we dive into the meat of today's session, I want to share the foundation of my purpose and passion, which I found through my professional values. They are believing in the product, believing in the people, and believing that I can make a difference. And what is it about developer relations and technical marketing roles that has offered a match to my values? The first is these business practices are by design user-centric. They put users at the core of everything they do. The second is that the magic underpinning them is trust and authenticity. And the third, believing that I can make a difference. That's the meat of today's session. You see, there are some people who see someone like me who does not come from a technical academic background and say things like, little of the material taught in liberal arts programs today is relevant to the future. And this quote is not the only one. There are strong voices in tech who question the relevance of my education, skills, and experiences to shaping the future of tech. And yet, here I've been, and here I still am after 20 years. And I'm as committed and optimistic as ever to building products and programs for builders. How may one square this circle, as well as gain something valuable from it in their own work? Can I really make a difference? I believe yes. For when I align my values and core attributes, plus that desire to build for builders, plus my skills and experience, building programs for builders is truly the manifestation of purpose plus passion. But what are these skills you speak of, though? You've been in tech, on technical teams, but you just said you don't have a technical academic background. So are you a techie? No, I am a fuzzy, and that is my special sauce. So let's get to what that means and why it is important. So I was fortunate enough back in my Google days to share a cube with the author Scott Hartley, who wrote this incredible book called The Fuzzy and Techie. And the notion of fuzzy and the techie comes from Scott's own experiences, who encountered these terms when he was studying at Stanford. The concept is that folks who are in the computer sciences or hard sciences are techies, and those who are in the humanities and social sciences are fuzzies. And there's this really interesting dichotomy. And what this book is intended to show is that the fuzzies, those of us with degrees in social sciences and arts and humanities, like me, I have a degree in history and Russian studies and a master's degree in education. We have the skills not just that are necessary, but are critical to driving technical innovation forward. How so? So I love this quote from the book, and in particular, it hones in on the fundamental skills of a liberal arts education that are valuable to tech companies, which are critical thinking, reading comprehension, logical analysis, argumentation, and clear and persuasive communication. So what does this look like in practice? How have I had purpose and passion as a fuzzy in tech, having critical impact on the success of technical organizations? So today, I'll walk through how I have found value as a fuzzy in tech, how I've found fulfillment in my work, And then I'll give 3 quick lessons on how I found success building bridges with techies to create amazing programs and products together. Let's dive in. Starting with purpose, the reason for which something is done. This quote comes from an example. There was a standoff in the South Asian seas. And what it gets at is the importance of human analysis in de-escalating a situation. Even though there was amazing technical infrastructure in place, ultimately what solved this situation was the intersection of humans and technology. So what do geopolitical conflict, de-escalation, and my technical marketing work have in common? Having personal value in a situation. So let's start with a deeper exploration of my academic and professional journey. Here's a quick timeline of key moments in my own academic and professional journey. When I was finishing up with primary school and heading into middle school, I thought my life's journey would be to become a 4th grade teacher. As I headed out of high school and into my university journey, I had this sense that the liberal arts were calling, but I only could see very, very known and understood professions, perhaps being a lawyer or maybe taking my arts interest in working in a museum. Then I entered college and decided that that specific passion was going to take me to study history and Russian studies. And so when I graduated, I boldly declared that I was going to be Secretary of Education in the United States and that I was going to run the Boston Marathon. I would like to tell you all I have done one of those things. After college, I spent the next few years working in higher education, specifically dental school admissions, and that led me down the path of connecting into policy and really making a difference through policy. Fast forward, moved to California, needed a job after my master's degree. Somebody referred me to Google, and the rest is history. I really thought at the time I was going to dabble in tech, pay off my student loans, and return to education. And yet it sucked me in. And pulling from many of our muses, Taylor Swift, even though this may have seemed arbitrary and accidental, going from 4th grade teacher to lawyer to historian to Secretary of Education and so forth, when I look at those academic explorations and professional endeavors, I see that they build up a set of skills that are well suited to offer value to technical organizations. Again, critical thinking, reading comprehension, logical analysis, argumentation, clear and persuasive communication. You could say it feels highly intentional. Perhaps is it by design? Thank you, Ms. Swift, for so brilliantly articulating my experience. But some of it was perhaps a little subconscious. And then it was really brought to life when I was consciously exploring moving into technical marketing and developer relations roles and needing to position myself meaningfully. So now let's jump into a case study from my time at Slack when I was director of developer marketing. So the challenge that I was facing is that we were launching a new product and there were a number of questions. One audience was saying, we don't understand your core product, let alone how to build on top of it. And the other audience was saying, we know how to build, we just have no idea what we're supposed to build. And so heading into our annual technical conference, we really needed to find a way to fill the gap to tell this story for 2 disparate audiences. We needed to clarify the product through which the platform works. We needed to give concrete real-life solutions, and we needed to demonstrate it in a visual and kinesthetic way. So fast forward to the Slack workflow challenge. What we did is built a live demo that folks could actually physically build common workflows. So they would come up to the screen, they would have an application, they would give them a quick overview of what workflows were, why they were important, and allow them to pick a common workflow that they could then physically build. The outcome of this was, for those who didn't necessarily understand Slack as a product, they could start to see the connections of the core product to the goals that they were trying to achieve on the daily basis. For those who were developing on the platform and who were wondering, what workflows was I supposed to build? It could actually start to help them see the common business challenges that they could then translate back to their own teams. So, what value did I provide in all of this? What I was able to do using the skills I gained from my history coursework is quickly ingest that data that I heard from the developers and from the end users to form and prove a hypothesis and communicate new ideas, allowing an effective response to user feedback to create a cohesive, valid, data-informed story which achieved its points, which was helping people be inspired to try a new platform technology. So next, we now know that this liberal arts background was able to allow me to show value to a technical organization. So the next is passion, which is defined as a strong and barely controllable emotion. So again, pulling a quote from the Fuzzy and the Techie, I really like this one because it says, a core aim of liberal arts education is to allow students to pursue their passion and also enable them to discover passions. And so it's not just about what my liberal arts experience fostered with existing interests, but it creates scenarios to discover new passions and become a well-rounded critical thinker capable of struggling with different perspectives. And those of us who've worked in tech know that every team brings a different perspective to the table, even if we have the same end goals. So we're now going to go back to those liberal arts roots and ask the question, what about work brings energy, joy, and fulfillment, allowing me to persevere, engage, and be open-minded? Picture a naive yet inquisitive young adult with a vague sense of passions, particularly around history and political science, and a readiness for guidance to shape these passions. Enter my first-year advisor. I was somewhat randomly placed with the head of the Russian Studies department. Was it accidental or by design? When we were planning out my course load, I mentioned interest in exploring a language to balance my historical studies. I asked, Spanish? Thinking very practically, he said, no. Look at your last name. How could you not take Russian? To clarify, my maiden name is Wasilenko and my family origin is Slovakian, but Slavic, so Russian. This circumstance that gave me new direction and depth to my academic passions allowed me to challenge myself in unexpected ways and build the confidence to continue a rich and varied professional and academic journey. Within this, I also unearthed a wish to challenges that built connections, whether with information or people. And what better way to build connections than event work? Here's another case study, this time from my work leading the Cloud Developer Relations program at Google. So here was the challenge I was faced with. When I came in to lead the program, there was inconsistent event planning and reporting. There was highly distributed decision-making, which meant very fragmented budget planning and very lightweight data collection. In addition, we didn't yet have alignment across the larger business organization, including product marketing, field marketing, recruiting, partnerships, and so forth. And so really tapping into that discomfort of working through new situations and divergent opinions, I balanced open-mindedness with enthusiasm for connecting those dots and making connections. So I really started by listening to learn the product space as well as the team culture. What were they trying to achieve? Where were their points of friction? Instead of coming in immediately and saying, I know how to solve this problem. It was really about listening and learning to speak their language and how may I help solve their problems. And then because this was work that I was so driven to do, because it was that passion, it gave me the butterflies in the stomach, almost that nearly uncontrollable energy, it really gave me the momentum to work through those points of friction to achieve results. And the outcome from this work is over the course of 3.5 years, we were able to build a comprehensive global program with measurable impact that was aligned to business goals. It scaled to allow for greater developer engagement globally, and it influenced more applications to be built with innovative cloud technology. And in addition to that, by really doing that listening across organizations, it was done so in a way that had minimal friction. It solved the problems of the different constituents, and it allowed them to prove their success and their own worth. And so how was I fulfilled by this work? It was delightful and impactful events. That foundation I developed through Russian studies instilled perseverance, deep inquiry, and that confidence to struggle through new challenges, build meaningful connections, and have successful outcomes. So, thus far, we've explored the relationship between a liberal arts background and the discovery of having value and fulfillment in building for builders. But you're probably all sitting there thinking like, this is a lovely story, but what does this mean for me? I am a builder. What lessons can I take away from hearing your journey? The centrality of fuzzies and techies coming together, or as this quote says, clashing, it really is to solve meaningful problems together. So now I'm going to share my 3 favorite lessons learned from building the fuzzy and techie bridge. Or, as I like to say, a treble of tips, if you will. I'm going to start with a cappella. That beautiful music that comes when a collection of singing and sounds comes together in perfect harmony. Or more specifically, my favorite airplane movie, which is Pitch Perfect. For those of you who have not had the good fortune to see this amazing trilogy, here's a synopsis. Protagonists, despite having a shared goal, run into various obstacles that prevent them from understanding their audience and delivering to expectations. Through an aha moment, they break through communication barriers, they break down silos, they find their harmony and come together to successfully deliver on this common objective. In this case, it was being winners of various a cappella competitions. But what does these movies all have happy endings, and what does that allow them to achieve in this aha moment? So for that, we're actually going to move a little bit away from a cappella, and we're going to journey across the pond to Scotland, the home of many things, including myself, a brief time long, long ago, and whiskey, aqua vita, the water of life, that cannot be made without that perfect combination of fresh Highland water, grain, peat, and distillation. Yes, to achieve perfect harmony, to make the perfect wee dram, requires recognizing that everything, or every person, plays a role, fuzzy and techie. For singing, it was each performer knowing the special sound that they brought. For whiskey, it's how the ingredients and distillation process work together. And in developer programs or technical programs for builders, it's everyone within a cross-functional team understanding the special skill, talent, and energy they bring to the project, and trusting that if each person plays their part, engaging, impacting content and experiences not only will be produced, but will be effectively targeted, amplified, and measured to have the greatest business impact. But before we get to before we conclude, there's one more challenge in this 3-part lesson, which is communication. How does everyone come to the table and communicate across differences to build trust, respect, and alignment? How did those a cappella singers come through the friction that they were facing? How is it that the ingredients in the distillation process work together? Dungeons and Dragons, of course. A story. Years ago, I was at an impasse working with a couple of developer advocates on a content plan, at which point one explains, "I am chaotic good," to which I replied with a very quizzical expression. Yes, they were referring to Dungeons and Dragons alignment types, which I quickly learned was just as effective, if not more so, in understanding drivers and motivations than perhaps Myers-Briggs or color exercises. So naturally, I ran back to my desk and immediately took the alignment quiz, only to learn that I was lawful good to their chaotic good. And it was this incredible aha moment helping me more clearly see that the friction I felt from a complete lack of process was coming from a creative, freeing, and well-intentioned place, while the friction that they felt from me was coming from being so strict to process that it was hindering rather than expediting progress. So, we now know the importance of harmony, the importance of everyone having a unique role, and the importance of finding a common language to speak. And so what does this treble look like in action? So while I was on the developer relations team at Google, we were working on building and amplifying a series of videos for Android developers. So in agreement across developer advocacy, video production, and social media, and through fair but thoughtful review processes and project management trackers, we were able to collectively establish a production, launch, and amplification process, including complementary content on blogs and social media. Ultimately, we saw 65 videos published, with the videos each getting tens of thousands of views. But as I said, to get there, it required finding harmony, recognizing that the perfect weed dram only comes when with both ingredients and processes. We each have a role to play, and learning to communicate across differences with that shared language. So we have a strategy and a plan for how to build it, and practical tips for communicating and collaborating with the folks involved in bringing the plan to life. A perfect harmony of fuzziness and techiness. To wrap up, I adore this quote. While the book, The Fuzzy and the Techie, to a degree sets up a binary and even includes that quote from before about clashing, the premise is that this isn't an either or, but a yes and. Of course, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math is essential. Deep scientific and technical knowledge is critical, and so is having folks with academic backgrounds which challenge them to, again, be critical thinkers, have strong reading comprehension, logical analysis capabilities, be persuasive arguers, and clear and persuasive communicators. And within this, see that there is value and fulfillment in being that bridge with technical functions to build amazing experiences for builders. And that being valuable in and finding fulfillment from a career in tech can originate from liberal arts experiences. Thank you for listening today. Again, thank you for Women on Stage for this opportunity. I hope you found it useful, and I welcome questions and staying connected. Thank you very much.